Okay guys, if you're subscribed to me, you remember a few weeks ago I made a video of my guided knife sharpener 3.0. There's a lot of people that have told me that I'm a perfectionist, but until I met my friend Heinz, I realized that I'm not that much of a perfectionist. And he really liked this guided knife sharpener, so he made one, and I would like to show it to you. So this is the guided knife sharpener that he made here.
Around so we can show this.
Oh, so let me turn this around. Look at that. Look at the lettering that he put on there. This means Gilbert Roy Sharpening System. Gilbert Roy, that's my name. And look at the lettering here. Where did you get these letterings again?
That's a product called Letraset.
Letraset?
Yes.
Letraset.
You can purchase this at graphic stores, graphic houses that specialize in graphic materials such as lettering and numerals that are readily available in sheet form.
And see what else he did different here? He rounded this here, and he made some grooves here. And these pieces of wood here are only glued in, but it's solid because the edge of the wall is holding the piece of wood here. It's pretty tight. And this groove here was made with a dado blade. Dado blade, right?
That's correct.
As you can see here, there's no screws holding the piece of wood here because it's fitted on there tight. Okay. Sorry, Heinz, I messed up your sandpaper. Look at this here. He put all the grits for the sandpaper. They're all separated here, so when you need to replace the sandpaper, you can pick it up. That's what I mean by this guy's a perfectionist. Everything. Look at even these slots here. They're rounded. Here, instead of using a piece of wood, he uses plastic. What is this called? It's plastic?
Phenolic plastic.
Phenolic plastic. And here he just put a bigger piece of wood over the dowel, and then he dipped it in
liquid rubber.
Liquid rubber. And okay, here's where Heinz here made things really different. If you remember on my video, if you haven't seen my video, I will put a link at the end of this video so you can see it. My magnets here, I put 3 of them. Now Heinz only put 2, and the knife will stick a lot more than on mine because he put a
1/8 inch.
1/8 inch by 1 inch.
Steel plate.
Steel plate. And then he recessed the plate here so you can't see it. Otherwise, you know, if you see it, it can rust. So he recessed it a little bit. Even on the sides here, it's recessed. And then he put, is it epoxy?
Two-part epoxy.
Two-part epoxy. And he put a little bit of sawdust on it so it kind of matches the color of the wood. And what the steel plate does is that it makes these magnets hold like 4 times as much. It's just incredible. Actually, I think if you would have just put 1 magnet per hole, it would have hold plenty. Okay guys, so I'll let Heinz explain to you how he recessed those magnets in here.
What I did, Gilbert, is I pre-drilled all the holes, but what I did after the drilling, I actually chamfered the outer edge of the holes themselves.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's correct. To allow for the filling of this 5-minute epoxy layer on top of the magnets, which now in turn dresses and covers all the magnets with this 2-part epoxy. And then what I did after this final sanding, what I did is I applied a lacquer finish to the entire structure.
Yeah, that's a 2-part industrial lacquer.
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I could pass my fingernail here. I don't feel the magnets at all.
Feel nothing.
It's kind of weird because I guess you use a clear epoxy because it looks like there's a groove here, but I put my fingernail and it's not going in.
That's correct. That's exactly right. Yes.
Just professional workmanship. Even the wood feels so like smooth that
yes.
I guess it covers a pretty thick layer.
Well, what it does is it helps to cover all the pores, seal the pores.
Yeah, I don't feel that.
You could take a damp cloth afterwards or something with mineral spirits and just wash the entire structure so that it removes any of the fine aggregate materials and sharpening, of the steel.
As you can see here, he rounded these edges here, and I like on mine I put nails with my nailer, but he put screws here, so you know, if one wants to disassemble it, there's no problem. Okay, I'll show you another difference what Heinz made here. Okay, see this is mine here with a sandpaper. Now look at the handle, how much nicer it is. He dipped it in the liquid rubber as well. So he made it basically the same as I did. I use a router bit, he used a router bit, but he used a much larger one, so it makes the handle round. It feels much better in the hand. And he made 2 of them. So it starts at 120 grit. Now you can buy PSA sandpaper, that means pressure sensitive adhesive sandpaper. So it's a peel and stick. You can cut it up to the size required. And like I said, it's a peel and stick. And you can buy that at leevalley.com, or you can buy it at sandpaper.ca, or toolsforworkingwood.com. And I'm sure there's other places that can sell it too. If you don't want to buy that fancy peel and stick sandpaper, you can buy regular sandpaper and use a double-sided tape. So again, he starts at 120 grit, then he jumps up to 220 grit, then 400 grit, then 15 micron, and then after 15 micron we go to
15 micron on this one.
Yeah, there's also another 15 micron here. Let's say his knife are already pretty sharp, he can just take this one here out and forget about this one. This is, you start that off when your knives are pretty dull. So anyways, 15 micron, then we go to 3 micron. And then you can stop at 5 or 3 micron and strop it on leather using chromium oxide, or you can just go to 3 micron and 0.5 micron and 0.1 micron. Now this is so fine. This is it doesn't even feel gritty, but if you go all the way to 0.1 micron, then there's no need to strop your knife. Now if sandpaper is not your thing, you know, you don't want to replace the sandpaper, look what he did here. I'm going to show you the other one too. So he bought 2 Norton whetstone. Okay, so this is the coarse one here. It starts at 220 grit, goes to 1000 grit, and then we go to 4000 grit, and then you flip it, or flip it this side here, sorry, and then it's 8000 grit. You know, you can just soak that in water for 15 minutes. Now, as you can see, he didn't use wood, he used an aluminum, half-inch aluminum round bar. And look at that, he used the dipping rubber too. This is oak.
Epoxied, yeah, epoxied right to the whetstone.
So can you explain, Heinz, how you secured these pieces of wood here to your Waterstone?
Certainly. What I did is I used a diamond-tipped hollow drill bit and angled everything into the stone.
What do you mean? What do you mean you angled it?
I set my drill press on an angle so that it in other words, I drilled the 1/4-inch hole on an angle going into the stone, right in the center, and then I drilled several detente holes, meaning, in other words, just to dimple it so that the epoxy then in turn would hold so much better to the stone. And then I drilled into the wood also 1/4-inch holes where I then inserted a brass rod, took the brass rod and bent it because of the angle here, and then coming straight into the wood, and then set all of that into epoxy. And what I also did is I ground into the brass rod. In other words, the brass rod is only 3/16 inch, ground into it so that it acts as a detente, meaning that it will not allow the rod to turn, because the epoxy then goes into the groove and really gives it that additional strength.
Oh yes, so then it's impossible for it to turn.
Correct.
So your brass rod goes on an angle like this, and then it's bent.
And then it's bent and straight into the wood.
And that's how you were able to put
everything together, to mate properly.
So why not put the brass rod straight in?
You could, but potentially, let's say for instance, if epoxy somehow wanted to let go, now you're straight on straight, and it could easily then delaminate and pull out. But when it's on an angle, and the rod is also bent on an angle, it means it will not allow for that to be able to pull out.
That's right. So you've done the same thing at
On
this
both
end
sides,
here.
that's correct.
And this aluminum bar here
That's
only
anodized aluminum, yes.
anodized aluminum, and it only goes in the wood.
That's correct.
Now, where do you buy anodized half-inch aluminum bar like that?
The aluminum bar, actually, I purchased from a company called Princess Auto, and it comes in 8-foot lengths, and then I just simply cut to the desired length and insert into the epoxy.
Okay, so if you live in the U.S., you don't have a Princess Auto there, but it's the equivalent to Harbor Freight. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's right. They will carry those types of products.
Okay, earlier I said these magnets, they really hold super good, and you only put 2 magnets thick. Like I said, this steel plate that's in here, it really magnifies how much the magnet will stick. And look at that. This is like crazy. I can almost lift the whole thing there. So let's see how this stone would work to sharpen knives. Right now we're set at 20 degrees, so that's the standard for kitchen knives. And there's the 8000 grit. Look at that. What's wrong with that, eh?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I can see this working really good.
Yes.
So I know some guys, they really prefer whetstones. Well, there you go, guys. Anything's possible.